Oh yeah, that makes life so much easier. Perfect. This is a heavy brute. Hey guys, welcome back to another video. Today we've got something a little different. I usually do ride mowers, but this is a garden tractor. This is a Massey Ferguson 2818H. I'm going to assume H is for hydrostatic, because it is hydrostatic, but this is a garden tractor. It's not a riding mower. It's got a PTO in the front, PTO back. It's got bolt-on wheels. It's got a V-twin Kohler in it. And we're going to do a couple of things on this tractor. First, we're going to get it running. It's got no spark. So we're going to figure that out. And we got to do a little maintenance on it that hasn't been done in years. So I don't have any history on this this unit. Customer bought it, never heard it run, so we're just going to get it fired up and working for him. So it does have release valves in it, so you lock a tab down, and it's supposed to hold the releases down so it pushes easy. But let me tell you, I got those releases pushed down, and it's not easy to push. And it's a heavy animal, and it's huge. Look, it almost fills up my lift. So we're gonna use that in the future. Man, that winch is handy. That's the winch I use on my little trailer that I pick stuff up with. And the way I've got it mounted is just these two bolts at the back here. I just drilled holes. One hole was existing, and I drilled one more over here just to, basically I just drop the bolts in and reach underneath and put a nut on them. Just loose, doesn't have to be tight. And the 2x4 in the middle is just to hold it from falling down in between my wheel chocks there. It is a motorcycle lift table, so it's got wheel chock on it, and I use it. Alright, without further ado, we'll get you in a stand. I might see how easy it is to pull this hood right off, so it's easier to work on. And we'll get stuff gathered and carry on. Before I get you in a stand and start tearing in, let's go a little prelim here. The battery wasn't in, so I put it in, made sure the connections are okay. That's alright. It does have a seat switch that won't allow it to crank until there's weight on it, so I put some weight on it. It does have oil in it. It's nice and fresh and clean, so that's golden. Got a brand new ignition switch in there. Let's check if we got spark. So let's see if I can do it one-handed. Oh yeah, maybe. Got a brand spanky new spark plug here. Get that squished in. Okay. Set it right there. Should be a ground. Let's see if we got some sparks. Choke's off. Fuel is off. I don't need to feed it fuel, so let's see if we got spark. No spark. Customer's complaint verified. First step, verify what they're telling you. If they say it's got no spark, then you verify that, yep, you're right, it doesn't have any spark. So, could be a number of different things. Could be a coil, or coils. Could be a kill wire that's grounded out somewhere. Could be the wrong ignition switch, because there's more than one type of switch, and the terminals are in different positions, and that's tucked down behind the battery there. We'll have to look at it. If it's the wrong switch, it could be grounding the coils when it's not supposed to. So, I'm gonna do a little investigation. I'm gonna pull that battery back out and grab my meter and start checking stuff. Alright, so I was checking things out, and I was reconfirming the customer's issue. And it's not that I have no spark, it's I have no spark on that cylinder. This cylinder's got spark. Okay, that narrows it down a lot. It's not going to be a mod, well, it could be a coil, but it's not going to be a spark controller, CDI. It's not going to be a problem with a safety switch. It's going to be one coil. So that's where I'm at. Yeah, this side here, pulled the plug out and it had run. I pulled the other side out and it was brand new. It was never run. Like the engine's never run with that plug in it. So okay, well, I turn the fuel on, pull the choke, crank, 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 crank. No fire. She no fire. She no good. There's gas in it. So what I did was I dumped some fuel down the carb, give her a crank, and it fired. Ran rough, ran bad, one cylinder, but it does run. So yeah. Really nice thing about this is I've got to remove the engine to get to the coils. That's awesome. Great. This front shield has to come off. The front cover, that's a shaft drive. And there's no room. So I got to unbolt, move, turn, take the cover off to get underneath it. Yep. That's a big job. So I still might take the hood off. I'm not sure. I was concerned that I wasn't going to be able to get everybody in the video, but anyways, that's where we're at. I'm thinking, well, we're either going to have a bad fuel pump or possibly the carb float is stuck in the elevated position, not allowing fuel in. So we'll probably pull the carb and clean that anyways. Throw it in the ultrasonic cleaner. Nope, that's coffee machine. There you go. Ultrasonic cleaner. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm going to grab my little flashlight and check what I need to do to get that thing disconnected from the shaft and rotated to a point where we can actually get stuff apart. Alright, so I put some eyeballs around this thing and I had a look, see what I'm going to need to take off. Actually, it's not that much. I've already disconnected the fuel line. I've unhooked our throttle cables. I'm going to do my very best not to pull it out of the chassis. I just want to leave it in the chassis and just try and turn it, twist it, tilt it, do whatever I got to do to not take it all the way out, because I don't have a place to put it. My table is full of tractor. We got, oh, let me get the light bulb on. There we go, light bulb. I don't know. There we go. So we got to get in here and separate this shaft from the engine. I've marked the collars and everything with a little yellow marker. I'm not sure if the timing actually matters, but my years in automotive have taught me if you take a drive shaft out and put it back in the incorrect way, it usually vibrates. So I'm just going to put it back in the way it was. Going to the other side. Oh, let's go to the other side here. Got a light harness that just runs down this connector into here, runs to the lights up on the front. They're all mangled and melted anyways. Not too concerned. We should have plenty of slack in our battery cable to do what I'm doing. So it just runs right from the solenoid of the starter up into the starter solenoid. It's mounted up in the dash there. Yeah. Well, another view of that coupler. So it's just 2 bolts that connect it to the front of the engine. And it's just 4 nuts and bolts to hold the engine down. Trying to get an eyeball on them. Well, there's one. Buried. One there. There's only 4. It's easy. Easy peasy. Some ground wire. Should have enough slack. Anyways, I'm just gonna take stuff off until I can get enough room to work. I've got to pull this cover off. I can actually look down the air cleaner here and I can see the coil in question, but I can't do anything with it from here. Well, we got it out there. We're going to make sure that our air gap is correct. It's kind of important on these. I believe the spec's 10 thou on these. I'm going to double check the spec with the Kohler service manual. We're going to ensure that both of them are set to spec. And then we'll probably get into the carburetor, because that's like every time I work on something it needs carburetor done. So. Oh, battery's dying. Gonna plug you guys back in. Where's the cord? Oh, saved it. Okay. Yeah. Nice tractor, actually. I like them. I would like to have one. With all the attachments. Snow blower, a blade, a belly mower, and rototiller, and all kinds of stuff. But I don't have a use for it. Alright, we'll get you in a stand and I'll start pulling wrenches. Okay, so I've got the 2 bolts off the coupler back here. The shaft has got a knob on it that goes into the engine area, into the front of the snow of the crank. I've got the 4 bolts loose. 3 of them came right out, which is nice. We'll be able to slide the engine. The other one is seized, like stuck hard. So, it's always something. So I'm going to move to the other side and work over there. Just got to kind of move and tilt and shift the engine. Hopefully I'll get enough clearance here. We might see that shaft drop down, that PTO shaft, but this is the side of the stuck bolt, so I got to work on this side. Get her up. Ha! Oh yeah. Exhaust is hitting everything. Well, that's tilted. Is it enough? Probably not. What else can we do here? I don't really want to mess with the exhaust if I don't have to. The drive shaft is, or the coupler is dropped out of the front of the crank. Pretty tight on it. I think it's one of the cables is tight. It's this one. Should just be able to move those a little bit. Yeah, they're tight. I don't want to take the cables off. I don't want to mess with the adjustment, if at all possible. Maybe I can turn it the other way. Probably not. Come on. Well, looks like I can take the cables off. So what I'll do is I'll just mark them with Sharpie where they clamp in there, and I'll be able to put them right back roughly where they're supposed to go. Maybe be a minor adjustment after that. I'll mark that one. Mark that one. Get them loosened out of there. Should be a 5/16-ish. Sneak them out, maybe. A little looser. A little looser yet. There, that one's out. That one's out. That's a lot more slack. You can take this one right out, actually. It's nice and easy. We'll do the other one. Which one is that? Choke. It's in the middle hole. You guys got to remember that, because I won't. Which one is this? No, that's the throttle. The throttle is in the middle hole. The choke is in the far hole. That's where it was. Okay. Maybe. I could just get this pipe to drop out. That'd be a lot easier. I don't have to mess with gaskets or anything, but we'll see. Take off as little as possible so I don't damage gaskets and stuff. I want to remove the engine. Ain't enough. I might have to remove the engine. Okay. Maybe wrestle with this a little more. See if there's something easy I can come up with. I don't want to take the pipe and clamp and all this stuff out. This is really rusty. It looks like it's never been off, so I don't want to mess with that. The nuts on the exhaust pipe are very, very rusty. I don't want to mess with that either. I'd rather leave everything on, and if I have to, I'll disconnect the ground wire off the block, another ground wire on the other side of the block, and basically the engine will come out. Yeah. Let me mess with it. Back in a second. Alright, so I got the exhaust pipe working, loose. So the clamp was really rusty. So I used my torch. If you guys don't have oxyacetylene and don't have an option for it, where's that part number there? TS8000. This sucker's hot. It's just propane. It's not a fine pencil tip, but if you need to heat something in a general area, it worked really good. Very hot. So I heated up the nuts, got the clamp off, and then I just heated up this flange. It's a slip pipe, so it's got a split in it. It just slips on. And I worked it and wiggled it a little bit off camera, but that's it. That slid off. And I think I can reuse the clamp, so that should give us a little more room to work. Yeah. That's the idea anyways. Of course now everything's hot. I should be able to slide it back a lot better now. Even the muffler's hot. It pinched me. But I think that might be okay there. Just gotta get something underneath. Ooh, it pinched me good. I got a blood blister growing. Gotta get a block of wood to go underneath there. Look. Got me. I'm gonna have to poke that. She got me. A little block of 2x4 underneath the front, right under the block of the oil sump. Should hold that up enough for me to get in there and get the things out that I need to get out. Yeah, I think that'll do it. That's what we're going with anyway, so. I know you guys can't see. Bunch of 8mm bolts over here. There's two more in a lift bracket. This might be able to stay. Just got to disconnect it. Regulator rectifier. Horrible connections. This one's got to come out. That one's got to come out. Fuel pump. I can take 2 bolts out and tip it to the side, which we're gonna test that later anyways. Looks like the vent here is plugged up. It don't work well when the vent's not plugged up. It doesn't let the diaphragm move up and down. We'll clean that out. Eventually, we'll get there. Alright, I'm gonna start taking stuff off. Here's my little driver. There it is. It's a screwdriver driver. It's just a hex, quick coupler. They work really, really good. Somebody just pulled in the driveway. I think my lunch is here. Okay, be back. Alright, so I finished my lunch and then jumped ahead. A couple of bolts in. I had to take the screen off the front. Off the front of the crank there. In order to get the cover off. So I've got all the cover bolts out. And of course, one of these bolts stripped out. It's a little tiny hex. It is 5/32. So that's the little tiny hex that I had to use, but one of them stripped out, so I took my zip cut. Where is that little guy? A little death wheel. And I cut a slot in the head of the screw. I was able to get it out just using a screwdriver bit and a ratchet. So that's that. Let's go. Let's see if this, oh, nice and loose. There we are. There you go. Come on, clear, clear, clear. She's dirty, but it's off. Well, there's one coil. This one actually fires. I know I got my big head in the way. This one fires all right. Oh, you know what? It's a good thing we took this apart. It's packed full of shit in there. It is packed. I might actually pull these shields off and clean the fins out because it's full of this insulation and dirt. That'll overheat it and cook it. We don't want to do that. Do not want to do that. Pretty straightforward. I'm going to jump the other side there. Let's see if I can see any wiring or anything that's wrong with this side. More junk packed up in the cylinder head. High tension lead or the spark plug wires in place. Fortunately, I can't even test it now without hooking everything back up again. Which I could, I guess. Kill wire is there. Huh. Yeah, this is sat for quite a while. Turn this over a little bit. I want to check that coil gap. Where's my magnet? There it is. Well, that's pretty close. I'm checking the gap between the coil and the magnet on the flywheel. Looks nice and close. It doesn't look like it's extended out of spec. Huh. If I put it all together and test it, actually, you know what? It's not that big of a deal. It really isn't. Just test it for spark. Meaning, if I pull this kill wire off of here, off of the coil, it should spark. There's nothing else controlling it. If the coil is good, when it passes by a magnet, it will spark without the ground attached. But it looks like it is. I know I'm rambling partial sentences here. So when you turn the key off, what happens is it grounds the coil. So it kills it. This coil is sparking. So this ground wire is only grounded when you shut it off, which is what it should be doing. What I was just looking at is to see if this ground wire was separate from that ground wire, but it actually just jumps over. Comes up from the harness, goes 2 wires into one connector here. The one wire is for this coil, and then it comes back out of that connector, runs over, and runs this coil. So by deduction, if this wire is unintentionally grounded or shorted to ground, then both will be, because they're connected together, they're in line. So that's not our issue. I'm going to order a coil. Simple. Easy peasy. Let's get that one off of there. A couple of 5/16ths. Let's get the magnet away from the coils so it's easier to deal with. Two 5/16 headed little tiny machine screws. Well, they're long but small. And then this coil will be out. It's already loose. Simple, straightforward. Should be. It's not so simple getting to them. On this machine anyways. If it was facing the opposite direction, it would be okay. There we go, the coil bolts are out. Here's our coil. The gap I was checking is the gap between the flywheel magnet and this area here. You got to check the whole wire. That's the high tension lead to the spark plug. If it's rubbed through or chewed by mice or whatever, if this is shorted, you'll get nothing at the spark plug. Even though the coil is firing, you'll get nothing here. Okay, that's what we're doing. Load our coil up. Well, what I could do is move one coil to the other side, and if if you just swap your coils, and this applies to a lot of different things. If you swap these coils, and the problem follows the coil, you know it's the coil problem. It's not a wiring problem at that cylinder, but I might do that. I might do that. It's 2 bolts and 1 connector. This one has spark, but it's not all that strong. I'm going to price up coils. I might just change both of them out because it's such a job to change these ones that you don't want to do it twice, and they're both the same age. They're both original. They're both the same age, and if one is bad, the other one may not be far behind it. Similar in headlights in your car. They come on and they run at the exact same amount of hours. So when one burns out, the other one's not usually far behind it. So I'm just going to order 2 coils. This customer plans on keeping this tractor forever, so I'll just order 2 coils up. And while I'm waiting for them to come in, I'll pull this carb off, dunk it in the cleaner because it wasn't getting any fuel. We'll check the float. We're going to check that fuel pump later. Got to get the shrouding off and blow all that crap out of there, all the mouse nest, mouse garbage, refuse. Alright, gotta jump online and find me a coil. Okay, so I've gone to a couple of suppliers and coils are back ordered from both, so I don't know. Let's get the shield off of here and see what kind of crap is in here, literally. Both sides are packed. Oh yeah. Yep, that'll definitely cause an airflow issue. That's an overheat right there. Possible. Well, it's a good thing I caught that. Quite a bit of junk. Oh, easy. Put it in the garbage bag. And I'll hit that with a blowgun. I'll cover the carburetor up. And I'll hit it with a blowgun. I'll clean all that rubbish out of there. Both sides. Now I can just pop the air filter on for that. Get you back to it again so you're not zoomed in. Yeah, I'll just pop the air filter on for that. Carb's got to come off anyways. I've got the ultrasonic cleaner heating up now. Well, that's that. Yeah, the airflow can't get by there, so it would overheat. Still coming out of there. Oh, there's more on top. Dang it. That's pretty packed up in the top, too. It's really packed in the top. Gosh! Well, I gotta pull this air cleaner base off anyways, and we'll probably take the top shields off, too. You gotta get it cleaned out. Can't just leave her. Alright, you won't see what I'm doing, so I might as well not record it. So, back when I get that blown out. Alright, well, let's get a little more done before we call her a day. Still gonna locate coils, but yeah, let's get the carb off anyways. See where we go from here. I'm gonna close that choke just in case anything drops. I'll be able to pick it out of there with a magnet. There's one little bolt, a little 10mm. Got a lot of screws and bolts hanging around here now. Couple of 8s. Uno. Dos. Looks like that plate should pop off now. It's got a little vent tube in there. And it's just vented to the top of the engine. Stupid clip. Just poke it through the plate here and just reinstall it when we put it back together. That's easy enough. It'll be fine. That. So what do we got? Fuel pump line here. That's our fuel into the carb. Got one little linkage here on a Z bend. That should be easy enough to get off. Got a wire here with a connector. Can't see the other side. Oh, there's another connector on the governor rod. That's a quick connect. I'm going to take a quick picture of that, just so I don't have to try and remember it. There. Do that a lot, use my phone, take a quick picture of linkages and stuff to make it easier to put back together. We should be able to, you seeing what I'm seeing? No, somewhat. It's just a plastic clip. Should be able to unclick it and twist it to the side, and then this rod should come out. Should. Out. There we go. Straight out. Little governor damper spring. Let's grab needle nose pliers. Yeah. Well, you want to stretch these as little as possible, just so they retain their original tension. That should be good. We'll take this off here. You might be able to see if there's fuel at the carburetor here. See if the pump was actually pumping. Where's my other pliers? I'm hoping the pump is fine. Wouldn't run on its own fuel. I had to put fuel down the carburetor to get it to fire. Let's see if there is fuel here. Not seeing a whole bunch of it. Might actually have a bad fuel pump. Not sure yet. We'll get to that. Let's take a walk to the other side. Well, it looks like everything else should come off. Relatively straightforward. Hopefully the gasket survives. If not, I'll have to make one, because I ain't got one. One bolt there, one bolt in the back. So I'm going to lift this and unhook the Z bend from here, from the choke. There we go. One carburetor. Float's moving. It wasn't sunk. I'm going to flip it upside down and see if there's any fuel coming out of the vents. None at all. None at all. The carburetor is absolutely empty. So I might as well put a fuel pump on order too, because it should have been pumping. I cranked this sucker enough and it should have been filling that carb full of fuel. Just add it to the list of required parts. But I'm going to clear a bench, get this carburetor taken apart. Yeah, gasket looks okay. I'm ordering parts, I'll just order a gasket. But it's late in the day here, so I'm going to shut her down for today and be back tomorrow. Okay, so we've got the carb on the bench. I'm not sure how far we're going to go with this. I have to be very careful taking this apart. I don't have a carb kit for it. They are very expensive for this Cayenne carburetor. So I don't, like, this tractor's already going to be quite a bit of money to repair, so we already need a lot of money in parts. So if I can get this top off there nice and easy, then we're going to go ahead and go a little further and get her soaked and in the ultrasonic cleaner. I don't want to have to buy a kit. We're going to just gently see if I can separate that. Screwdriver. Well, it's moving nice and free. Just don't want to tear any gaskets. Oh, they came apart pretty good. Oh my, look at the crud in there. Let me get you a light on. Look at that mess. Wow. Okay, well, yeah, it definitely needs to be cleaned. If I have to get a carb kit, I will, but I'll try my very best not to. Let's have a look under here at the floats. Float. Single float. Remember, we weren't getting any fuel. Carb is bone dry. So either this was stuck up, not letting fuel in, or the fuel pump wasn't pumping fuel. It's a O-ring spaghetti, well, it's a spaghetti seal. It's rubber. It's not too awful flat, so I should be able to just gently pick that out of there and save it. Other than the stuff sitting in the bottom, I'm not seeing all kinds of crap everywhere. Let's get that float out of there. There's a rubber tip needle and a brass seat. Careful. It's probably okay. It's not hardened up like crazy. Where are you looking? Let's see what you can see here. It doesn't look too bad. We'll save it. We'll put it in the cleaner along with the float. But geez, that's messy in there. I don't know what the heck it is. It's like jelly. Well, I'm pretty sure that's going to be ethanol gas. There's a little port down right in this corner, straight down in there. You just see it. I just uncovered it with a screwdriver, and that's controlled by this, the flow. We're going to take that out and have a look at it, because I don't want to soak that in ultrasonic cleaner anyways. It's electric. Just looking to see if I can see a reason why I wasn't getting fuel, other than that float not being stuck. I don't see anything, so well, let's pop this off. A little solenoid. One more here. Should just slide out. There we go. Oh, that's caked in crap too. I'll have to hit that with some spray. Anti-backfire valve, imagine. That's what it looks like. Well, that could be the issue. A screw down in here, a mixture screw. Let's pick this little O-ring into here. Welsh plug. There's a screw here. Yep, it's a mixture screw, so I'm going to count the turns in before it's lightly seated. We got a half, 1 and a half, 1 and a half and a bit, 1 and a half and an eighth. 1 and 5/8. 1 and a half and a bit. Let's get that screw out of there for when it goes into the ultrasonic cleaner, then it'll let the fluid go all up into that passage too. And it's full of junk. I'm not seeing anything that's absolutely definitively going to cause no fuel, but we still haven't checked the fuel pump. Whether it's the fuel pump or the carb, this did need to get done, so. Okay. Anything else on this we want to disassemble? There's just a spring in here, a preload spring. Seat looks good. I'll take that screw out of there so it doesn't get lost in the bottom of the ultrasonic cleaner. Nothing else to take out. I'm going to gently try and pick that O-ring out of there. Get a little pick. Don't want to damage it, don't want to scratch it. Don't want to stretch it. Just trying to get under it. There we go. We'll just work it out. Just like so. Nice and gentle like. You don't want to grab a corner and rip it off. It'll stretch the thing and then you won't be able to get it to stay in there later. That's tight in there. Just careful. It's working out. There we go. Just home stretch. There we go. Saved. Yeah, we'll keep that aside. We're not going to let that go in the cleaner. Alright, well, I'm going to drop this in there and let it run for a bit and see what we come up with when it comes out. Get some penetrating oil in there and clean that solenoid out. Don't lose the screw. I'm also going to hit it with 12 volts just real quick across the battery, just to make sure it still functions. Because if it doesn't function, it's not going to let fuel in that it needs to go in. Alright, let's get this beast back together. She's out of her bath and nice and clean. Emulsion tube device in there. Get our gasket, seal, gasket, whatever you want to call it. It's a seal. Get her pushed back in her home. Still nice and snug, so that should hold it in there in its place for us. Just make sure all the corners are tucked. Yep, okay. Got our float. All the crud's been washed off. This needle has a spring-loaded tab at the back. It's important that if it's spring-loaded, that it's important that it works. It's got to be right. Uh-oh. Oh, I forget how it came out. I think it was this way. Was it that way? Well, we'll find out. We'll find out when we put it together and see if the float's set where they need to go. Get in there. There we go. Got our float pin in. Where's that little screw? There it is. Let's see what that looks like. Well, that looks good. There's our float level, basically. Yep. That works. Yeah, pretty well cleaned everything I can clean. Uh-oh, except for this. I don't know if that comes out or not. Oh, never mind. That's what I just put in there. Damn. I cleaned it already. So, gently now. Looks like it's hung up on something. Might be that O-ring on that emulsion tube. Just rock it back and forth. That's all it was. Sitting nice and flat now. Let's get our screws back in there. 1, 2, 3, 4. I hope that gasket doesn't leak. I'm not going to tighten it with the driver. Just running them down. They're long threads. Okay, so they're all just touching, and we'll snug them up in a cross pattern. Nice and snug. That's good. Let's get our little jet back in there. A little adjustment screw. You guys remember what it was? Yeah, I flip back and forth on the camera. So for you guys, it was like 11 seconds ago that I took this out. For me, it's been a lot longer than that. Carefully now, don't cross-thread the brass fitting, or the brass threads in the aluminum body. Lightly seat. And it was at 8 and then 3.5. Half, 1, half, 2, half, 3.5. 3.5 and an 8, so it was 3 5/8. I remembered. Let's get our solenoid back on there. Solenoid, interestingly, has this hole here. This is a mounting screw. That's a mounting screw, and that's a mounting screw. But that hole in the middle lines up with that idle, that mixture screw, so you can adjust it while this solenoid is on the carb. Hopefully this O-ring is good. If it isn't, it's just a little metric O-ring. I can put a new one on there. Oh, I did test this. Put 12 volts across it. It moved. Nice and free and easy. Get that screw in there. Get in your home. There we go. Get her started anyway. One started. Get this one in there. Started. It's running down. Good and snug. Good and snug. We have yet to test the fuel pump. We still got to do that. But it's nice and clean inside now. And that's what we're going with. Waiting on parts. Still got to get my coils and voltage regulator. And then we'll get going on this. I'm just going to bolt this back on the top of the engine. A couple of bolts. And I'll fire the camera back up when I get some parts in. So here's where we're at. After waiting for my parts for like 13 days, I got them. So I've already gone ahead and installed the coils. Gapped them with the 10 thou feeler blade. My feeler blade set, and most others, I'm just having a brass one. Because we're dealing with magnets, it's nice to have a brass one. Works good. So I just gapped them to 10 thou. I did put a new set of plugs in it. And now at this point I got to put the front cover back on, and then we'll get it set back into its home and bolt the engine back down. We'll get the drive shaft put back on. But you saw me take it apart. I'm not going to go through all the reassembly. It's just putting the bolts and nuts back together that we took out. So what I'll do is at this point I'll just work around the unit and get it back together, and I'll just fast forward this little quick part of the video. So carry on. Okay, at this point I got to just put the 4 bolts in the bottom of the motor, tighten them up, 2 bolts in the drive shaft, tighten them up. I think that's it. So I'm going to do that off camera. I'm going to make sure that it's got oil in it and all that stuff. We'll check the dipstick, make sure it's got oil, and put a splash of fresh gas in it. We'll turn the camera back on when I get that stuff done. Okay, so we got a splash of gas in there. I didn't fill it right up. I want a low tank because I want to make sure that the fuel pump is working. So it's going to be pumping it out and filling the bowl. If you fill the tank right up, you can get basically a false positive telling you that the fuel pump's working, because if the tank is right full, the pressure and the gravity will feed the carburetor. But once it starts to get low, it'll start running out of fuel because the fuel pump's not working and there's not enough pressure to fill the bowl. So anyways, it's low, but it's covered the pickup tube. So fuel valve, let's turn that on. Filter's got fuel in it. And I already checked for oil. Got all the bolts taken down that need to be taken down. Back to the regulator's plugged in. Shaft's all bolted up. So let's give her some choke. And turn the key. Well, the bowl is empty, and it may take a while to fill that up with the pump. or the pump might not be working. Let's put a splash of fuel down there anyways. I'd rather not burn the starter out. Get a splash of fuel in there and get it to fire, and then it will make the fuel pump work faster. It'll pick up fuel better. I don't know how long it's been since this engine has run. Well, not much left in my little bottle. But I've got a little bottle here with some 50 to 1, actually I think it's 40 to 1, 2-stroke mix. Let's see. Let's see what that does. It fired. Okay. Give her another little prime. Fired off real nice, actually. We might have a fuel pump that doesn't work. Oh, primer bottle's empty. I'm not seeing any fuel movement here. What I'm going to do is this is the fuel in, this is the pulse line that goes to the crankcase to pulse the pump. I'm going to pop this hose off here because this is the hose that goes to the carburetor. I'm going to put another hose on it and run it down into a container to see if I'm getting any fuel. We might be into a fuel pump. That's not fun. I was hoping to get this finished and back to the customer without having to order more parts. Set that there. Let's see if we got a piece of 1/4-inch line hanging around somewhere. This might do it. Pretty squishy. So I'm just going to use the starter and crank it. We'll see if we get any fuel out of it. No trickle. Well, I also could add water in there. Oh, that sucks. Carburetor would be full of water then too. Let's see what happens. We'll prime it again manually. And see if we can get that pump, fill that bowl up. But I gotta refill my bottle. Stand by. It was pumping a little, not a lot. Still could be a bad pump. Huh. It's trying. I might be able to fill the bowl from the top through the vent. Oh, that's a lot of gas. Far too much. seems to run okay. I put a new voltage regulator on there, so I wanted to check to make sure it was charging. Well, it runs. Get you out of stand for a sec here. You guys been sitting up there for a while. Get you out of there, stretch your legs. So yeah, Massey Ferguson 2818H. I'm going to assume the H is for hydro. Man, it's dark in the shop, can't see squat. Yeah, we got it running. New voltage regulator, 2 new coils, clean out the carb, ultrasonic clean it. Didn't rebuild it, didn't have gaskets and kit for it, so we just took it apart very carefully and cleaned it all out. Oil is brand new, so previous owner changed that before I got to it. So that's that. We're going to conclude this video here. Thanks for joining me, guys. Don't forget to give me a thumbs up. Leave me a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. If you do subscribe, give that little bell a dingle. It'll notify you when I upload new videos. And until the next one, thanks again, and take care.